You are listening to Making It, the path to beauty industry greatness with Canvas Me, where we go behind the scenes to explore the human side of beauty professionals, learn how they found balance in their lives, overcame obstacles, and created communities that transcend the ordinary. Hosted by Canvas Me co-founders Jen and Matt Martinelli alongside Canvas Me directors April and Megan, Making It is your guide to navigating the ever-evolving world of beauty. Okay, awesome. So we are here today with Sam Villa, who needs no introduction. But if you had to, right, at a simple level, he's the co-founder and chief executive officer of Sam Villa and global artistic director, global artistic ambassador for Redken, amongst several other awards and several other amazing things in the industry. So welcome, Sam. So awesome to have you here today.
Jen and Matt, it's a pleasure. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this chat.
Us too.
Yes. 3 o'clock couldn't come any sooner for us today.
That's right. And it is a beautiful day, by the way, here.
It really is. So our podcast series is called Making It. And so we like to start off all of our podcasts with this question. Do you feel that you've made it?
Will you ever make it? I mean, what does make it mean? Where do you want to be? I've always had myself, who do I want to be and where do I want to be? And I thought, you know what? I really want to be able to do something and do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it, and be able to afford that. Now, has that ever happened? Not quite. I find myself right now in a position that I've made it in a place where I'm extremely, extremely happy doing what I'm doing and living the life that I'm living. And this industry has helped me to do that. So I'm very grateful for that.
That's awesome. I love that because I think when Matt and I first started this entrepreneurship journey, it was like, okay, when I get there, or if we get this many members, then I'll be happy. Then I'll feel like we're successful. And the truth is, every time you get there, you just have a newer, bigger goal, right? And so I'm trying to learn how to just be present in the journey and take every level for what it is, and keep on that path. But it's so true. I don't know that even as big as you get, have you really made it? I don't know.
Right. I mean, I always put a step forward. You just continue to take a step forward and reach whatever it is that you want. But I will say this, it's very lonely at the top.
Sure.
It's very lonely at the top. I mean, there's a lot more pressure put on you. There's a lot more of expectations. Yet I love that, the challenges. And that's why I really feel, have I really made it? Or yeah, I would say I've made it where I'm really comfortable with what I'm doing and how I feel about myself.
Yep.
Which I think is the most important thing.
And that self-confidence is what you earn along that journey of
Yes.
every step of the way. It's so true.
It all comes from experience, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's so true. And, a lot of people, and I think a lot of students, especially listening, and we talk about this a lot, is that they have this false sense of belief that they're not worthy enough, right? So your beliefs create your actions, which then create your results. And so we end up in this cycle of, I believe I'm not worthy enough, so I don't take the action. And then I get the same result. So then reinforces my belief, right? And so if we can just convince people to step outside of that comfort zone, even though you might think that you're not, take that step, change your results, and therefore you can change that belief. And I think that's really what it's all about, to build that confidence and continue on that path. So
well said, Jen. Well said.
So important. So I want to start at the beginning of your journey. So where did this all start? When did you know you were destined for the beauty industry? You've been this huge icon and something that people look up to and respect, and this huge mentor to everybody, but it wasn't always like that, right? So how did it start? How did you get here?
Well, first of all, appreciate that. And thank you for that. This journey began in my dad's barbershop. I probably was in the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, 6th grade. All through that time frame, I basically shined the shoes. I got 25 cents a shine. I'll never forget watching my dad work all day early in the morning. We'd start sometimes 7 a.m. and walk out of there by 8 at night. And I sometimes was so busy, I didn't have an opportunity to really sweep the hair. That was one of my jobs. And I watched him stand in hair. And I thought, gosh, I'm never going to do that. Never going to do that. Stand up all day and work as hard as he does. And here I am today doing exactly something very similar to that, starting out like that, not as a barber, but as a cosmetologist. And it was something I never thought I would do, Matt, Jen, never would do. And then I was going to college playing volleyball and came home one weekend and said, I don't want to go to school anymore. Yeah, God, you got your scholarship, your PE major, you're doing all this. I said, Mom, Dad, I really don't. I cut school half the time to go to the beach and play volleyball. I think I really want to try what Dad does. And my mom's jaw dropped, and my dad was clapping underneath the table. And I said, but I don't want to go to barber school. I want to go to cosmetology school. So my mom was like, wow, you only have one more year of college left. I said, I'd really like to try it. She said, okay, here's the deal. You go ahead and do that. And if you don't like that, promise me you'll go back to college, but you're responsible for paying for that last year. I said, deal. I'll do that. So my dad found a really good school in the San Francisco Bay Area. At that time, I was living in Santa Cruz, California, and going to college in the San Jose, California area. And when I went to this school, I started the school, really good school, Peter Hans. He's the guy that had a product line. He did rod transfer perms. He was known for that. And you know that little twisted cut that I do, that boom? That I learned in beauty school. Wow. Imagine that. I learned that in beauty school. Nothing I made up. So off to school I go. I'm there for about 3 months. And as I'm trying to understand how to get these athletic hands to do hair was very difficult. But I remember, never forget this. My teacher came up to me and she said, Sam, I said, yes, ma'am. She said, you need to go over to the dryer. Your rollers are falling out. You lift up the hood dryer, you apologize, and you put those things in there really tight. And I said, yes, ma'am. I walked away. As I walked away, she goes, I could hear her. She said, and Sam, you might want to think about doing something else. Little did she know what she said. She said it to someone. Wow, you tell me something I can't do it. I prove to you I can. And it was funny because that weekend my dad called me up and said, hey, what are you doing on Sunday? I said, Dad, I'm not doing anything. I can't afford to do anything. He said, well, let's go to a hair show. I said, what's that? He goes, that's where you understand you're getting into something where education is going to be very, very important. You always want to learn, something to learn. I said, okay. So he goes, I'm going to pick you up early. So he picked me up early, and I'll never forget. We lined up. I said, who are we seeing as we're waiting in line? He goes, we're seeing Vidal Sassoon. Now, this was 1976. Redken had invited. Now, I never knew who Redken was, but my dad was a big Redken person. He was a Redken. They had Redken for men. He carried that brand in his salon, in the barbershop. And I was never forget. I was sitting there like a kid. He got there early, second row, right in the middle. And I was like watching these people just melt as hell. Vidal, Christopher Broker, Roger Thompson, Alan Benfield Bush. And they all had these Asian models with long hair and just cut these shapes. And I was like, my dad said, sit back. I said, Dad, I want to do that.
Amazing.
He said, what? I said, I want to be a platform, whatever that is. I want to do that. He goes, son, eyes here. That's all ego and no money. You prove to me you can do it with no ego, and then prove to me that you can survive, then fine, go for it. You talk about a lot of avenues you could walk. This is one that just fell in my lap that I saw. I said, I want to try and do that. Now, why did I think I wanted to do that? Because through my whole career, I was in athletics coaching. I coached wrestling. I coached track. I coached volleyball, you name it. I was playing it or doing it and participating. So I think once I made a decision to do that, I went back to school with intent and purpose, not necessarily a goal, but I wanted to prove to the teacher. And I had a purpose now that I wanted to teach or walk down that avenue. And I just kept practicing and doing that. And then sooner or later, things just started to fall in place. But that's pretty much how my journey began.
Jen and I, we talk a lot about life-defining moments, right? And I think when we work with a lot of students, and part of what we teach them is to uncover these life-defining moments and these false beliefs and how to transform them, right? There's a lot of trauma in young students. But I find it really interesting that when that teacher said to you, you should try and find something new, right? I think a lot of people would have taken that advice and left and crumbled and played victim and would have walked away. What do you think drove you? Like, what was inside you that was like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to prove you wrong. Because I think at that part of your life when you're young, I don't think a lot of people have that mental toughness and that clarity to kind of take that as a challenge, right? What do you think? And I know you're really close, really amazing relationships with your mother and father. Like, what do you think drove you to that decision?
I think it came from how I was treated in school.
Okay.
I was a small guy, a little guy. I was pretty shy, but I think, getting in this industry, my dad said, one of the things you need to do is you got to get out of the shyness. You're going to be around people, and you need to learn to get out of that. The other thing is I always had to try and stick up for myself. One of the things my dad said, don't start anything, but if they started on you, hold your ground, that kind of thing. So I think it came from there. I think that it was that mentality of being an athlete or being involved in a lot of sports that said, oh, you can't make that shot. Oh, you can't do that. I believe success comes in can'ts and failure comes in can'ts.
Yes.
And because of that and holding on to that, I think it really helped me to say, okay, maybe I can't now, but if I believe in myself, sooner or later, I will.
It's really interesting.
I think I had held on to that. And then my dad always told me there was something he said, if you can help people get what they want, you'll get what you want. But in order to help them get what you want, you've got to break out of this shell. You got to break out of this shell. So listen, to all of the community out there, for Canvas Me, if I can do it, you can do it. I mean, there's so many things. I really believe there's so many times, Matt, Jen, I've fallen down. I now believe that if I fall down, I'm staying down. But I'm staying down for a reason, because I think there's more things to discover down there than just the reason why you fall down. And then when you stay down and you're picking up, you discover things, but you also pick up why you fell down there, then stand back up. You're just going to be stronger that way.
Yeah. Well, I love the analogy too that you brought up around sports, because I think this goes with beauty school as well too. It's not about the ability. There's so many young beauty students that have the ability that are able to do it. It's just, how far are you willing to go?
Right.
How much more are you willing to put into that craft than somebody else? And it's the same thing with sports, right? Like my son's a great athlete, but as he gets older and older, people are catching up to him. And it's like, how much do you want it, right? Do you want to continue growing and being uncomfortable? And I think the more we educate these young artists, we say that it's like, it's not about the ability. It's about the mindset to want to be the best you can be.
Well said. It's like there are people right now that we don't know. I guarantee you by, September, you're going to be saying their name.
Yeah.
And we have no clue that. And that's because of the Olympics, Summer Olympics. So what these people are doing to get that name out there is they are working out. People go, you work out? I said, yeah, you bet I work out. I work out with mannequins. I practice. You see, that's what it is. If you have the right mindset, like you were saying, that you have a right mindset where you say, okay, here's who I want to be. Here's where I'd like to be. Then what are the steps and the things that it takes to get there? And it happens with consistency. There's three things that I really believe in. It's the idea and the concept of communication. I really believe communication builds wealth. The way that you communicate behind the chair. I really believe it's consistency. It's about the consistency of always embracing learning and practicing. And then there is communication, consistency, and what's the last one? It'll come to me. God, I can't think of what that last one is.
Is it a C?
Confidence. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, confidence. It's confidence. See, my dad, when he said, you got to get out of that shell, listen, you are who you are. If you keep staying in that shell, you're not going to get anywhere. So you got to have some self-confidence in yourself. Like people go, okay, Sam, give me an example of how you work out. You want to know how to work out? First of all, you have to like what you see. So my workout is the bathroom. Excuse me. What do? I go in there with my mannequin stand. I close the door. I put on heavy metal music, and then I speak to the mirror, me speaking while I'm playing music I'm not a fan of. And what I'm doing is I'm training my mental agility to stay focused on what it is I want them to walk away with and what it is I'm teaching them. See, so there's ways that I've worked in order for me to get where I'm at today. It wasn't just handed to me. So the idea of the mental mindset of I can do it, develop that, but there's things that you have to do in order to complement that and get where you want to be. I hope I made it some sense.
That's such a great tip for educators. So
such a good tip.
So you go in the bathroom, you put on headphones with music that you like, blasting music, but you and then communicate to the mirror so you can continue to think about what you want to say and what you're trying to accomplish with that session.
Well, here's why, Matt, Jen, is because too many educators get caught up on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And they get caught up in that little voice. Well, are they liking me? Well, did I make sense there? Well,
So
did
true.
I this, did that? You know, well, that one looked at me really weird. Is it my
So
shoes
true.
or this and that? You know, see, it's about putting the learners first. And that's why if you're in school, when you walk in that school and you put your hand on that door, whatever's going on in your life, do yourself a favor and leave it outside the door.
Mm-hmm.
And then walk in that school with intent and purpose and to understand the reason why you're there. You're there to get a license of some sort of your choice. Yet you have to listen with intent and purpose. The good Lord gave us 2 of these and 1 of these. And we need to use these more as a beauty expert than we use this. And when we use this as a beauty expert, we use it with intent and purpose and with the knowledge that you've been taught. I didn't like school. I focused on cutting, especially after that Sassoon show. I thought, oh, I'm going to be a haircutter. But when I walked out of beauty school, you know, I started working with Redken years later, but I was a cutter. Then they said, oh, Sam, we're sitting in Fashion Week. I go, okay, yeah. How good are you with a curling iron and putting ponytails? I go, not good. I don't get to cutting hair.
Right.
No, Sam, you're not going to cutting hair. So now what did I do? You see my arms, they're all burnt up. Everybody makes fun. They're all burnt up, but they're burnt up because I had to learn how to reuse an iron and something I didn't do. So my point of saying this is because school is the most valuable part right now. If you're in school and you're listening, I think school is a place where it's going to set you up for your success. So pay attention to those things, even though you don't like. And then you're going to find that avenue, you know, whether you're going to be nail, skin, hair, barber, salon owner, salon manager, artistic director, educator. There's so many paths you can walk down.
Yep.
But all that stuff in school is going to be valuable to any one of those choices.
I think there's so much that we can unpack there. But I think what's so important about your story is that had your dad not taken you or exposed you to that opportunity and going to that show and witnessing these educators and changing your life, you may not be who you are today. So really the importance is to get outside of your normal routine, do something new, learn from somebody new, get out to shows, right? If you can. Because it can change the entire trajectory of your career.
I think as a beauty expert, you must never cease to learn. There's going to be something out there always to learn. And I want to go back to that story. It probably was about 20 years later. I'm doing a show in the San Francisco Bay Area. Who is sitting in the front row? That teacher.
That's
she
awesome.
was sitting in the front row. And then afterwards, she said, Sam, I'm just here to tell you how proud I am of you and to apologize. Please keep doing what you're doing for the industry. So,
and that's how you win.
You know, that one is right there was like, wow, okay, I'm doing and I'm saying the right things. You see, it's not about awards. People go, oh, you got so many. Awards are just a confirmation of what you are doing, whether it's with your hands, your eyes, or what you're saying is working. And it's doing it's falling in the right places. And that's how I look at all of these awards. One of the biggest ones for me was Lifetime Achievement. But what it told me was all these years of the things that I always believed in, people are listening and they're taking it in. And that's the most important thing to me.
Agreed.
100%. I love it. And I also love that part of your story. We always talk about our limiting beliefs are what creates our superpower. So your limiting belief or you're, you know, I'm too shy, I'm too this, I'm, you know, people telling you that maybe you can't shoot that, you know, hoop or make that score, whatever that is, created this internal desire to be who you are today. And I think that's so important because so many of us allow those limiting stories to keep us small rather than help us allow that to become our superpower and do what we do best in the industry. So I think that's awesome. We talked about some challenges, but what is maybe a huge challenge along the way, you know, long time ago, more recent, whichever, that you have overcome, and how can we help people overcome some challenges or similar challenges?
It was probably my communication skills, you know, because of where I come from and my confidence in myself and building that up and being shy. I really believe that my communication skills, I was always the last one to talk. I was always a person where I wouldn't raise my hand, but I would wait until everybody else did. I was never the first, you know, that kind of thing. But I always believe that what changed me was when my dad had a chat with me while I was in beauty school and said, this is that shell that we've been talking about. And it was when I had an opportunity to actually, the teacher had said, Sam, you're going to go do this. Okay. I want you to come back and I want you, she always had really good exercises for us to do. And she said, I want you to take what you're going to learn there and I want you to teach it to the class. And everybody had to go that because she really believed that if we reset it and we taught it, we would get it. We would understand it even better. So I told that to my dad, I'm going to chance to do, it's my turn. And that's when he sat me down. And I didn't really believe, Matt, that I could do it. I really didn't think I could get through it. And a lot of times, in my youth, I had a little bit of a pause in my speech, and a lot of kids would kind of make fun of it. You might hear some of it come out sometimes, but it was something where that was part of that shyness, and I knew as a teacher, wow, how am I going to put all this together? How am I going to do this? But once again, it was the confidence that my dad gave me that said, okay, now's your opportunity. This is an opportunity to see if you can really do it or if you can't.
I think it's so interesting that your biggest insecurity is now your
biggest,
your most powerful attribute.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, we keep trying, we keep moving forward. But I think that it was one thing that I was proud of, the fact that now it's great to stand in front of people and have the ability to touch people's lives.
Yeah. But I think that's why we built Canvas Me Too, was to humanize people. And I think about all of the people that resonate with a similar story, that feel like they're not being heard, that feel like they don't communicate well, that feel like they're in this box. And we have to use those.
Yeah. And feel like becoming an educator is unreachable.
Right.
And it's not.
Right.
Well, and it's funny, Sam, as you're talking, I see a lot of myself. I was never the first one to volunteer. I was never the first one to speak out. I was always really reserved. And I think yes, I went on the whole mindset journey and what is my purpose and really discovering and overcoming limiting beliefs. But I think at the end of the day, this mantra really helped me is the fear of regret is bigger than the fear of failure. And so I kept envisioning myself 5 years from now, looking back at myself and saying, you should have done that. You should have pursued it. You should have tried again. You should have never given up. And that fear of regret was bigger to me than the fear of failing or the fear of somebody judging me.
Right.
And that is what got me out to say, you know what? The first time's not going to be so great. The second time will be a little bit better. And then by the time I turn around, I'll be 50 times later and I would have mastered something that I wouldn't have if I wouldn't have tried from day one. So that mantra is really what got me to stand up and actually have a voice, because I believed for so many years I didn't have one. Right. And I wasn't worthy enough. So,
we go around life trying to please everybody, don't we? We want to be, my parents thought, you treat everybody the same. You try to please them. You make them happy whenever you're around people. It's like people, they say, Sam, you ever get nervous before you go on? You bet I do, because I put a lot of pressure, because I want to help people. I want to make people happy when they see a presentation. But I've learned something over my journey and that is, I don't know the formula for success, but I know the formula for failure is trying to please everybody. You're just not going to please everybody. But if I know that I put out 110% of my heart, my soul, my hands, my words, then I've done a good job. And that's all I need, is that. I can't rely on people, whether I make them all happy. Like so many of the Redken Artists Network, they're like, wow, how'd you get where you're at? I said, just find out why you're doing what you're doing and you'll get there. Let the people push you to the top. Don't try to climb the top.
Yeah. Well, Jen and I talk about a lot too. It's when I think we're the most dangerous when you can combine your purpose in life for your most passionate things in life.
Right.
And I think you become unstoppable, because when you're following your purpose, all those people, all those naysayers, it doesn't matter. Like you can block those people out. It's when you're not being, I think, your authentic self is when you get into trouble around the things that you want to do in your life. So I think for us, aligning Canvas Me with, like Jen said, not being able to have a voice for so long in her life, but the goal of Canvas Me is to provide people and artists with a voice to find their people. And I think when you can combine that, you truly just become unstoppable. And that's obviously what you've done. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate what you're doing, because the formula that you put together seems to help the longevity of the people that come into this industry. You know what happens. They come into this industry, they have a lot of hopes, dreams, or they're told a lot of things, and they're like, before you know it, they're out of the industry. And it's like a lot of, when I go into schools, when I talk to schools, Sam, how do I find a salon? How do I know where I want to work? I said, here's what you do. You're going to go to, think of the salon you want to go to. Is there any? Oh, there's about 3 of them I have. Great. Go visit all 3. What I want you to do is go sit in that reception area, that waiting area that they might have. Sit in there, introduce yourself, and ask them if you just can sit and just kind of absorb the salon and see if it's a place. Do you hear the sound of learning? Do you hear the sound of genuine concern for the client? Do you see them working together as a team? Do you hear the phone being answered properly? Is this the type of, then that's the place. And then the one thing you want to ask before you leave is, I really thank you for that. And I'm thinking, I loved your environment. I'm thinking of working here. I'd love to apply, but do you have an associate program? Oh, well, yes, we do. If they say they do, ask to see it in writing. If they can't show it to you in writing, they don't have one. And they're just going to make it up after they hire you.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the best formulas I've shared with students, to go out there and find out, where do you want to work, the environment? Because I think a lot of promises are made, Jen, Matt, that it just hurts too many students that come out into the salon world, and it's not what they were hoping or what they thought it might be.
That's a great tip. And that's also, we're super passionate about helping everybody understand career pathing, right? And so just like you being exposed to that one show opened your idea and opened your eyes. And so that's why I'm so excited that you're actually hosting a mentorship through Canvas, because you get to open somebody's eyes in terms of what are the possibilities out there. So we're going to have a lucky person shadow you at ABS, which is pretty awesome and super amazing of you to dedicate your very busy day and very busy time to somebody to shadow you, because that could be life-changing for somebody to experience backstage, on stage, what all that's about, and completely change the trajectory of somebody's career. So that's really, really
important. Because they're going to have not only an opportunity to experience the skills, they're going to have an opportunity to find out how a team works together. They're going to have an opportunity to hear how skills are so valuable, whether I'm in the back room or whether I'm out on the show floor or whether I'm out in the main stage. Because I'm going to show that person how not only to work with their hands, but how invaluable communication skills are in the industry. And part of communication skills to me are the listening skill. That's how you communicate, how you respond. So I'm extremely, extremely excited for that person.
Yeah, I can't wait to pick the winner. So it'll be really exciting. Okay. So you have done so many things in your career. You have Sam Via Tools. You brought them to life. What was your inspiration behind that brand? So you've already accomplished so many things. Now you want to launch tools. Talk to us about that.
It was something that I realized after being with Redken now for, 30 years, I think. I've lost count. I've seen a lot of artists come and go. And some of the greats, they come and go. And then I see them just fall off. And I thought, I need to have something I can fall back on. And I'll never forget my best friends, my co-founders, Kurt Gerheim and Beth Carson, and my other friend of mine, dear friend, Michael Colazzi. I said, I need to figure something out. I cannot be a platform artist and educator the entire time in my career. Eventually people are going to say, I've seen Sam before. He's gotten to a point now where he's saying the same thing. Eventually that happens, it's going to come. The day's going to come. So I said, I'm going to fall back on DVDs. That's what I want. Education, because that's my niche. It's education. So they thought, well, Sam, what else would you fall? Well, you need more than just that. I thought, okay, well then let's do tools, scissors. My hands, there's a way we got to fix scissors. But a doctor told me once, your hand, why are you moving your hand here? Your thumb needs to stay there. Somebody needs to create a shear where it's a forward set thumb. He knew what he was talking about. So I went to Redken and said, listen, I want to do this. I went and got the money, mortgaged my home, said, I want to do this. And I'll never forget. It was Pat Parenti at the time. He said, listen, if you're going to do this, number one, you cannot come out with a wet line. And number two, Sam, please come out with more than one SKU. He goes, go out there, put a line together get the proper backing, get the proper marketing, get the proper distribution in place, and have that all in place before you even launch this. He goes, please don't do what other artists have done. They come out with one SKU, two SKUs, and he goes, you need to come out. So I said, okay. So it took us a while, but we went out and did it. And I'll never forget when I said, okay, the DVDs, they said, well, let's go in the studio and shoot them. I said, no, we're not going to go in the studio and shoot them. What do you mean? I said, we are going to go to a salon and you're going to shoot me doing a workshop live, a hands-on class. I want this to be like the Good Eats cooking show, because I'm going to go in the camera. I'm going to talk about like this. I'm going to say, did you hear that question? Did you hear that student just ask that question? Now listen to the answer. Come on. I wanted to make it unique and make it different. That here's step one. Here's step two. I wanted them to, the people that I had in that salon was so cool because they were asking the questions that I knew the audience looking at that video wanted to ask. And it was revolutionary. I'll never forget Charlie Kennedy. He was the VP of AV for Rec at the time. I said, I want you to help me produce this and direct it. He goes, okay, great. A step by step, no problem. I said, no, we're going into a salon. That's an old church that was made into a salon, and we're going to shoot in there. He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, I want to do it this way. He goes, oh, wow. He goes, that should be interesting. I got the camera crew. And he goes, what do you mean you got the camera? Well, let's get the guys who work. I go, no, I got a camera crew that knows how to move from A to B to C. You don't need to set up, they can do it. They all shot for National Geographic. They had never shot a hair video before. So we went in there and did it. And the first person that fell in love with it was Mary Rector. She saw it and she said, Sam, I've never seen a DVD, in those days, DVDs, shot like this. And she thought it was unique. So that took off. And then the idea of forward set thumb and the tools that we were making, a blow dryer that was less than a pound, it was all about the ergonomics behind the tools. So the tools were basically a fallback for my career. That's what they were for. And that's why I started.
But still very much with purpose, right?
Yes.
In helping, with the weight of the blow dryer, how the shears were designed. So still very much with purpose. That's awesome.
Right. It was still about the education process in there. Educate them, look, you use what's most comfortable, what you feel is comfortable, but I'm going to give you the why behind this and this. This can affect longevity and this can help longevity. So it's just being another messenger out there to me was important, but being a messenger on the tool side.
I think it's awesome. Yeah. And I think the reason why it was so successful is people want authenticity, right? And so you were able to authentically show up. Not step one is you're doing this, you're having a conversation, you're fielding the real questions from the real audience. So I think that's
a simple reason as to why a black and white comb. If I'm working with a blonde, I'm going to work with a black comb, a dark level comb. Why? So I can see the extension of the line I'm going to cut. And a white comb on dark levels of color so I can see the extension of the line I'm going to cut. So it was simple little education things that backed up the reasoning behind that. It was so important to me. A razor that you could turn and swivel rather than you having to adjust your wrist and hold that and then work with it. So there were reasons behind it. Just didn't want to come out with tools for the sake of tools.
I also think there's a lesson here as well too, and I think it really resonates, especially with students and where you are like a young point in your life, right? And that's, I think, you are the sum of the people you surround yourself with. And I think you having Beth and you having Kurt and you having Pat, like people that you worked with consistently, people that valued you and you valued at a high level, I think helps push you into directions or push you in they're not yes people. They make you're uncomfortable situations. They push you to do more. You didn't get this far to get this far. And I think with a lot of young artists and a lot of students, we see them surrounding themselves with negative people. And it's not easy. And it's not easy. It could be friends. It could be family members. And I know,
or just like social, right? Like your social feed is filled with negativity.
And so I think it's so important as you're going through your career to truly look at who you're surrounding yourself with.
So true, Matt.
And I think it's something we try to talk about a lot. How do you think that's affected you?
It's unfortunate. I think you think about social, and especially in the world today and what we've been through and how we've come out. I mean, people are fragile. Let's face it. The industry is fragile. The foundations of the industry have been cracked. We've discovered a lot of cracks. And now we're reinventing the industry, so to speak, reinventing the way that we do things, finding other ways and various ways to make things better. The whole sustainability thing that's happening in the industry. But I really think that we need to be careful with social. And what bothers me is it's the youth in terms of what we say and who we're communicating. You know, we have no clue, no idea what they've been through in their life. You know, I walk into a school, I come across, Sam, I'm so happy to meet you. My mom talks about you all the time. She follows you. She's a hairdresser. I'm in school because of her. I'm doing social and I'm trying to do what you do. I'm trying to do, learn what I learned in school. I post it and all I do is just, I get negative comments. I can count the positive comments on one hand. So I'm going to be leaving the industry. And that just hit me.
Yikes.
To hear how what she's seeing on social and what she's reading, how it's affecting her, and shame on these people. And I told her a little bit of my story. I said, look, if I could do this, you could do it. Don't give up. Don't give up. If your mom can do it, there's a reason why your mom can do it. If I can do it, there's a reason. You don't let these other people bother you. And there's this whole acronym, I'm sure you've seen it, of think in social. The T, asking yourself what you're about to post, if it's true. And then the H is it really happening? Or are you making it up just to get followers? And then the I is inspiring. Is it inspiring? If it's not, don't post it. And then the N, is it necessary? Is it really necessary? Or once again, are you just filling a void and trying to meet a number? I need to post 3 things a day. And then K, which is the most important thing to me, is it kind? And if you can answer all of those, then push the button and post it. But if you can't, please be careful, because I really believe social is important. It's our new business card. It is our new business card. But the most important thing is when you see each other, the most important thing I want people to remember is the interaction that we had. That's the most important thing that they remember when they walk away, is the interaction we've had. That's the interaction you can't really have on social. And that's why education, as a hairdresser, I must never cease to learn. As a teacher, I must never cease to learn. And that's why getting yourself to live shows is a must. Getting yourself on digital education is a must. If you can walk away with one nugget, whether it's the computer resource or the show resource out there, it's well worth it. Well worth it.
100%. Well, it's interesting because we were actually going to ask you, what advice would you give, younger professionals who are trying to build a social following? So I think the THINK acronym is huge. I've actually never heard of that. I think that's awesome. I'm going to use that moving forward.
Yeah.
But what do you do if you're trying to build a following or trying to get a name for yourself, even if it's not a huge following, maybe just in your local community? What are some words of advice? I mean, you've built a huge following. I'm sure you've dealt with adversity and challenges. Where do I start? What do I do? How do I overcome?
I think one of the most important things that goes back to that one of those C's, and that's consistency. I think what happens is too many people say, okay, I'm going to do social, and they start on it. They're really consistent in terms of their posting, and then all of a sudden it just drops off. And if there's anything that's going to, do not worry about how many people push the like number. It's about the engagements. Be aware of your engagement. That's the most important thing. And that fits under consistency. So it's about, ask yourself, who do you want to be? Where do you want to be? And that relates to social. And then once you establish that, then, okay, there's things that go underneath it. Like for me, I branded myself as an educator. And I said, okay, I'm going to build that IG as education. But then I got all the business hitting me, oh, we need to do this. I'm like,
So true.
Education drives sales. Sam, okay, great. So there's things, it's schedule. Just get things on a schedule, but be interactive. Really get the engagement going, and don't worry about the numbers. You want the right people following you, not the wrong people, So I think those are just a few things that I feel that's so important. And then do what you're good at. I'll never forget, I thought, I'm going to do a photo shoot. So what do I go do? I'm going to go take a photography class. I'm going to go take a makeup class. So then what do? I schedule my photo shoot. I get behind that camera. And then I look at the photos and I go, these are ugly. These are the worst I've ever seen. And then my learning lesson from there is, dude, you can't do it all. You surround yourself, Matt, exactly like you're saying. You surround yourself with the right people and what they're good at. The makeup, the photographer, the wardrobe stylist. And people go, well, I can't afford that. I go, there's people out there that are working to what you want to do. That's a wardrobe stylist that has it, but quite not there. That will participate. You just got to reach out and find those people.
Partner.
So but it's out there. It's social is something where I feel that it's amazing what's going on with social. It's really amazing.
And I think the core of that message too is really you have to have clarity of who you are, who you want to be, and where you want to go, right?
Yes.
To really be authentic and resonate with the audience that you want to resonate with. And I think, especially at 17, I had no idea who I wanted to be or where I wanted to go. But I think the important part is listening to podcasts and mentors and learning about the questions you should ask yourself, about the opportunities that exist, about things you should try everything right now to figure out or to hone in on what that is. Expose yourself to more things. I used to be the person that would say no to things. So I'd be afraid, like, oh gosh, if I go, what if I look silly or say something stupid? Right. So I would just say no because I was like, I can't show up at 100% and I don't know what to say. So I would say no. But really, while I was saying no, people were showing up at 60%. Maybe they weren't even 100, but they were leapfrogging me. Because now they know more than I did by attending the event. They know more of what they like, what they're good at. They've made more connections. So I think the moral of the story is really try things, really hone in on that level of clarity, who you are, what you want to be, and where you want to go. And then that will shine through social and really get your authentic following.
Can you imagine had I said to my dad, nah, Dad, I don't want to go.
I know.
I don't feel good today. I mean, you can make up so many excuses.
Yes.
I think a lot of people, we find ourselves at a point in our lives where it doesn't hurt to try. It certainly doesn't hurt to go see. I really believe it's those moments are spontaneous moments, and those are the moments you need to embrace.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I know we're coming up on time here. Who are the top four is an arbitrary number. But who are the top 4 educators or pros that you're following or that you're really watching or that you're interested in or that our audience should really be looking at?
Right now, I like Ben Brown. I think Ben Brown right now, and I say Ben Brown right away because I really believe we're getting back into simplicity is today's brilliance. And what I mean by that is let's get back to the basics. Let's get back into discipline. Let's get back into foundations and get back into the idea of understanding that. And that's why students in school, that's why those basics and foundations, you have to understand those. Learning by trial and error isn't going to work. I highly recommend, and you're going to go do what you like. But if you're going to say, Sam, what would you suggest I do when I get out of school? Go find a salon that has a great associate program, because then you're not going to learn by trial and error. If you have a mindset where you want to go in, I said, well, I want to go in and rent my own chair. I want to go over here. Great, but you can do that, but you're going to be learning by trial and error. Right now, I'm enjoying Ben Brown because he's getting my mindset back into the foundations of where I started. I like that. Presley Poe, I like because of her authenticity. If there's anybody that gets on there and says it like it is and just really educates at the same time while she's a real human being, it's Presley Poe. And I learn a lot from Presley. On the artistic side, it's Anthony Moscolo. I love to learn and follow Anthony Moscolo in Fringe. I think it's over the edge, but you need to have something that keeps you here grounded, and it's something that just puts you way outside of it. And Anthony Moscolo happens to be one of them. The fourth one, oh, wow, Vivian McKinder pops up. Now, why Vivian McKinder? Vivian McKinder, you talk about an all-around hairdresser. Vivian McKinder is one of the best. And she comes from that stable of artists, Trevor Zorby. So I think, I put Ruth Roach in there, right, with Vivian McKinder. All around hairdressers. Vivian McKinder has some great things going in terms of some really educational packages that you can take that are just tremendous in terms of good dressing, finishing, and cutting skills also. Those are my top 4 right now.
Yeah, those are great.
Amazing. And all for different reasons, which I love
Yeah.
too. So I think you need a full, well-rounded. And of course, Samvia, which we already
Number
follow.
5.
So
Oh,
yeah, number
thank you
one.
for that.
So couple more questions.
Please, I got time.
Yeah. What is Samvia afraid of?
Oh, wow. You're not going to like what I'm about to say, but I have a 7-year-old now.
Hmm.
And, it's really changed my life in so many ways. I just fear being on the road and something happening to my wife and child. I think about that a lot right now. Or, something happening to me. That's that. I don't know. It's weird. It's really weird. But Jen, that's come up the past year, and I'm not sure why.
I think about that as well. We have a 10 and a 12-year-old. And I think about that a lot, especially when we travel, but even not, I think, and it goes through spurts. It's interesting. It's something that I don't think about, or I had in the past, but with the children, it changes things. Right. I believe your son is Mateo, I believe.
Thank you. Yes,
we have a Mateo.
We have a Mateo as well.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Whoa. I've never heard that. It's amazing. Yeah. Well, we're going to have them connect at one point.
Get the Mateo.
My Mateo, he loves soccer. He's really good in soccer. But I also fear now, like the other day, I was in Colorado Springs doing a video shoot this last couple of days. And I said, she was sending me pictures of him getting his first library card. You would have thought he went to the moon and came back. He was like, Mommy, it's a miracle. I have a library card. And I'm thinking, my little voice is going, God, I miss that. I wish I could have been there for that, to see his reaction. Yes. So that's my fear. It's not so much on the industry side. It's more on my personal side.
No, it makes sense.
Yeah. I especially as a mom and an entrepreneur, I fear a lot of missing my kids' moments, but I'm also so blessed. And that's really the part I have to remind myself, is that I do have a flexible schedule and I can be at pickup when I'm home, and there's things that I can do that, I used to wish for when I wasn't an entrepreneur. So, I hear you loud and clear. So just to close this out, what are some words of advice or habits that we can leave our listeners with?
I really feel that we need to continue to embrace the youth. That's one big message that I have for 2024. Someday those people that you might not believe in are going to be running this industry, number one. I think the idea of, please, there's plenty out there for everybody. Salon owners in the community here, you got to know there's plenty out there for everybody. Let's take the youth, give them the right standards. I hear that, well, Sam, they don't want to work. Well, Sam, they don't. No, they're not us. They're not like what we went through. It's a different world. They're going, we went through, I went through Vietnam War. I don't know what you guys went through, but I went through that whole Cold War, Vietnam, and then they went through maybe COVID. I don't know, but every generation has gone through something.
Yeah.
So I think we need to embrace each other. Salons supporting salons, brands supporting salons, influencers supporting influencers, artists supporting artists. I think it's just a big thing out there. We have to understand there's plenty for everybody. And I think we need to listen more and how we communicate with each other. I know that my people go, Sam, why do you do what you do? I said, I do what I do because my choice as in this career is to help hairdressers be better hairdressers, period. End of story. It's not about, the things I want to have. It's not about, I want to be famous. I believe that I am where I am because I've helped people get what they need. I really believe that your progression is my obsession. You need to know that. As a teacher, your progression as a beauty expert is my obsession, and it will continue to be. And I really believe that in today's world, simplicity is today's brilliance. We've got to keep things simple. So I really believe it's those things that I'm going to embrace as I move forward and continue to put out there. And if it helps, it helps. But I'll continue to reinvent myself and find out. Look, I got to tell you, I am not a rock star. I'm not a genius. I'm not an inventor. I'm not a visionary. I'm proud to say that I'm a hairdresser who chose to be a teacher. And I will continue to move forward and stand before an audience motivated by the passion to teach.
And that's why you're so incredible.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Sam. We're super grateful for your time. I think you're just abundance mindset and your ability to motivate and inspire anybody wherever you are is just so incredible.
It's a gift.
So thank you for that.
Appreciate that. And I can't wait to discover the winner.
Yes. I can't even imagine what it would be like to spend a whole day with you. I think I would leave and like leap years away from my current position.
I don't know. Well, you know what? I put this out to Kurt. I said, you go tell Matt and Jen if they want, and they can make it happen. The person, they're welcome to hang out with me for 3 days. I mean, I got so much stuff I'd love to share with them and give to them. So if it's 1 day, I'm going to give them a bucket full, even more. So
we have so many amazing people applying. I don't even know how we're going to.
Or maybe we pick 3, 1 each day. I don't know.
How we're going to decide.
You do what you want.
Yes.
I'm just opening the book up for you.
Yes. Incredible. Well, thank you so much, Sam. We're super grateful for your time. And then we'll meet you again in the near future to choose our ABS winner. We'll announce it live. Yes. We'll tell the world, and then we'll watch it happen at ABS all over social and in person. So really exciting.
And thank you for being Canvas Me. You have thrown a beautiful canvas over the industry. And
thank you.
Thank you so much, Sam.
Means a lot.
Have a good day.
Take care.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Making It, the path to beauty industry greatness with Canvas Me. Our mission is to give you a voice, help you find your place of belonging, and empower you to thrive in this beautiful industry. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will fuel your own journey in your career. Head over to canvasme.com and unlock the next chapter of your beauty journey. Create your portfolio, showcase your unique talents, and connect with a community that understands and celebrates your story. Subscribe to Making It for more inspiring stories, and let's continue making it together.